You don't know what you don't know. Okay. Probably the best example I have of that is when I was at Monsanto, and they were introducing genetically modified crops. This was at the very beginning before, I mean, nowadays people have heard about genetically modified crops, and there's all kinds of points of view as to whether they're good or bad, but let's kind of just think about it from an innovation perspective. The people who had developed that were the people in the agricultural division. And so they thought of their customers as farmers. And they were very good scientists. And the science that went into being able to develop genetically modified crops was nothing short of amazing. And they understood a lot of the perspectives that they needed to understand to commercialize. So there were significant regulatory issues that they had to deal with because this was something totally new. They understood that there were real problems with how do they capture value from these seeds. So the very first product that they had was a soybean product. Typically a farmer, he plants soybeans and then he saves some percentage of his crop and uses those soybeans that he saved the next year. So he replants. So if you have a technology that you've spent tens of millions of dollars developing, you don't want to just go out and sell soybeans for 1 year and then it's in the public domain. So there was a lot of creativity that they had around how to capture value. From a legal perspective, they created literally contracts with farmers, which was unheard of. You know, no one had ever done this before, but they said, if you want to buy our bag of seed here, you have to commit to not saving seed for the next year. They also had the farmer commit to setting aside at least 20% of his acreage in a certain configuration so that there would be environmental protections. So they were very, very good at thinking about all the angles for the world as they knew it. But these were people who had always only needed to think of their customers as the farmers. And now they were selling something that actually the downstream customers were going to care about. In other words, the people who were going to eat the food. And it literally never occurred to them to ask the question, what will ordinary people think about eating food that came from genetically modified seeds? And we all know now, with 2020 hindsight, the firestorm that ensued when genetically modified seeds came on the market. These were people who were true believers in the value of their science. They thought, we are going to feed the world with this. And it never occurred to them that anyone would object to that. And what is so interesting is, you know, the agriculture people were based in St. Louis. The pharmaceutical division was sitting there in Chicago. This was a company that was the first company who had ever commercialized the birth control pill. They had lots of experience, lots of understanding of what it is to manage the social impact and the downstream consumer attitudes towards a product. But they never talked to one another until it was really pretty late, until the firestorm had ensued, and then the pharmaceutical people said, you know, we might be able to help you on this, but it was kind of late. So it's a cautionary tale that if you have diversity of perspectives, you have people who are more likely to ask those questions that you haven't even thought to ask.